What if I could show you a way to save $1,200 a year and not even try very hard? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about the 3 most obnoxious financial fees that the average American pays and how to avoid them. Welcome to Hanging Out with Popsy Guy, and I fully recognize that you're not an average American, but you may know somebody who is, so make sure they see this video, you pass the information along to them, and you'll be their hero. So let's get right into it. So the very first one is what we call credit card swipe fees. Now you've seen these and you think, well, it's only this establishment that does it and that one, and no big deal, I'll pay it this time. Well, swipe fees are what the merchant charges for the transaction on a credit card. That's why it's a swipe fee. So you'll notice that more and more establishments, I'll use a local automotive repair shop here where I'm at, it says right on the counter, we're going to charge you 3% extra if you use your credit or debit card. Use cash. I'm like, no, that's just because you want my cash. But then I realized, yeah, he's trying to save me money, and I don't carry a lot of cash, which I think is a crying shame, because if merchants are willing to give you a discount for using cash, you should use cash. It's easier to pull out the debit card or the credit card and just swipe it and say it's only 3%. Well, restaurants do the same thing, if you've noticed. The restaurant that you go to frequently may have changed their policy over the last several months or year or so, and you'll notice on the bill that there's what they call a cash discount. And you realize, hey, wait a minute, that's 3% of the bill. Right? Now you're getting it. So if you carry cash and pay these expenses with pictures of dead presidents, you'll save yourself money. Now, the average American pays well over $1,200 a year, $1,200 a year in these fees because, number one, the merchants know we're lazy. There's an outcry in the United States now that cash is dead. Don't use cash. You know, that's what old people use. Yeah, well, old people like me, and maybe like you, know a good deal when we see it. And if we have the opportunity to save a couple of bucks here and there, we're going to do it. If that means we have to load up our wallet with pictures of dead presidents, we're going to do that. And that's one of the things that a lot of folks who are much younger than you and I, they don't even know. I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say, doesn't it frustrate you when you go to a store and you use cash and the cashier, who is most likely 30, 40, 50 years younger than you, can't figure out the change without banging it into the computer? That's just a lost art. Carrying cash, I think, is also a lost art. But that's the first way to save money. So again, you're not the average American. You're one of Popsy Guy's followers, subscribers, and thank you very much for that. But you need to make sure that the people who are average Americans aren't getting taken advantage of when they can easily just change the way they do business and carry some cash and save a lot of money. So think about it again, $100. $3 doesn't sound like a lot, but $3 4 times a month, 12 months a year, it starts to add up. So that's the first thing to do, is make sure that when you're using plastic, that you're getting the same cash rate, right? Ask the merchant, if I use my debit or credit card, am I paying any more? That's a hidden fee. Sometimes you don't see it until after the fact. And then sometime in restaurants, right, you won't see the actual cash discount on the very first thing that they hand to you, but you may see it on the receipt. And that's after you've swiped it. You're like, oh, man, I should have used cash. So that's number one. I think that's something that all of us can probably pay attention to, because it's going to become more and more prevalent. More and more establishments will start to use cash discounts or service fees, depends on what nomenclature they use, but pay attention to that. So that's number one. Let's see. Oh, here's something that's interesting, and it's on the same path, that the United States pays, us consumers in the United States, we pay 5 to 7 times the swipe fees that Europe does, and more than twice than Canada does. It's because the MasterCard, Visa MasterCard, they call it a duopoly. They own the market here in the United States. They set the rates. And most of us carry either a MasterCard or a Visa card, and it's either a credit card or a debit card. But they know that's our card of choice. And I'll talk about cards in just a minute, but just pay attention to that if you would. Or make sure somebody in your life is paying attention to it. All right, the second one has the same thing to do, and this is the three things. So you got swipe fees, right? Hidden swipe fees. Bank fees. How do you think banks make their money? They don't make their money by being nice and giving you a free pen. Well, they don't even give free pens anymore. Lollipops, if you even go into a bank. They make it on the margin, number one. They'll lend you money and invest it at a higher margin. But really where they make their money is fees. And it amazes me how many people don't understand that banks are not profitable without the fees. And the fees are egregious if you're not paying attention. The very first one is overdraft fees. When you open a new account, they'll say, would you like to auto-enroll in our overdraft protection program? You say, why, yes, I would like to do that. That sounds very nice. Well, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? You're paying for that in a hidden fee called a maintenance fee or a service charge. But if you don't, and you do overdraft, and I know you don't, but when somebody has less money in their account than an automatic bill that pops up, comes in, $35. Let's say you have a Amazon Prime or Amazon something, Netflix, right? Let's just use Netflix for an example. Not even sure what Netflix charges this year, but let's say you've got that on auto debit through your account at the bank, and you're running a little light this month, as most people are, because cash flow is tight for everybody because of inflation. And you completely forget that the, let's call it $25 fee or $25 Netflix charge is going to hit at the end of the month. And it hits and you only have $12.55 in there because you haven't got paid yet. Well, guess what? That $25 Netflix membership for that month just cost you 60 bucks because the bank is going to charge an additional $35 to cover that. So now you've just paid more than 2.5 months of Netflix charges between the 25 and the 35. So be very, very careful. Here's a solution. And again, this is for folks that are, I don't think they're as savvy as you are, but they, first of all, some younger people, and I think you know who they are, they couldn't balance a checkbook if their life depended on it. They've never written a check. They're not sure even how to do it. What they do is they pull up their online account and they look at the balance. I've got $150 in there, and that should get me through the weekend. Completely forgetting they've got 2 or 3 other automatic debits that they've signed up for, including Netflix, maybe the electric bill, something else, the car insurance, what have you. And that $150 isn't going to carry them through those 3 debits. So the solution that you need to share with them is pretty obvious. We know they're on their phones 12, 14 hours a day. Have them put into their phone, into the calendar, a reminder that those bills are to be paid. And usually I would set it up 3 days in advance. For example, electric bill due on the 15th, I would set a reminder in my phone that says on, let's say, the 11th or the 12th at the latest, it would pop up on my notifications, my electric bill is due. Now I have to say, okay, how much is the electric bill? When are they going to ding me? And will I have enough money? That's how you avoid it. That's how you beat them at their own game, is you just take a little bit of time to do a little bit of basic budgeting, how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, and the cash flow timing. When does the money come in? When does the money go out? That way you can beat these banks at their own game, because they know most people, a lot younger than you and I, because we grew up in a different era. We know how to balance a checkbook. We know that we need enough money at the end of the period to pay our bills. But in this fast-paced society that a lot of the younger generation lives in, they don't think about it. It's all instant gratification. Things are happening now. I'm not worried about next week or the following week. The old YOLO, which I absolutely hate, you only live once, because I don't believe that. I think we all live in eternity. It just depends on where you're going to be for that. But I digress. So make sure you set up, or have these folks set up at least alerts so that they know when these bills are due. Okay? There's another one. Let's see. Again, I have to look at my handy dandy notes. Oh, where are we? overdraft fees. Oh. So there's no such thing really as a credit card company. I mean, Visa and MasterCard, I think those are, in my opinion, mistakenly thought of as credit card companies. They're banks, right? So the bank issues the credit card, and the MasterCard, Visa are the administrators of it. So it's the bank that charges the interest rate, not MasterCard. And here's the trap that I think too many of us in the United States are falling into right now, is we are subsidizing these companies at egregious interest rates. And I'm talking sickening interest rates. You can ask my wife. I've been saying this for years, that these banks that masquerade as credit card companies, they're nothing more than legal loan sharking. Where else can you go and borrow money and pay 28% interest legally? I don't even, that would make organized crime bosses blush. 28%? And we don't have to break any legs? Sign us up for that. Well, that's what a lot of Americans are falling into. They're falling into the trap of paying late, so they've got late fees on top of interest charges. This is why the economy itself is in such turmoil, is we are relying on debt. We are a debt-fueled society. We always have been. It makes the United States economy go around, but it also hurts, because there are a lot of people who are, again, I use this term a lot because I think I know who you are. You're a buddy of mine. You're probably close to my age, if not older, maybe a few years younger. You grew up in a different world, right? You didn't owe anybody any money. When a bill came due, you paid it. You paid it before it was due. You didn't want the reputation of somebody who was not paying his bills on time. Now all of a sudden it's like, all right, so I'll pay 28% interest on a $1,000 credit line. What is that? That's nothing. Well, all you have to do is look at what the value of compound interest and what that does to money over time. And most of these folks that have revolving credit lines just keep adding to them. They don't stop adding to them because we are a consumer society. We have to buy stuff. So pay attention. Pay attention to overdraft fees in the bank. Pay attention to interest rates on credit cards, because it's legal loan sharking. So how do you solve that problem? Well, at the banks, there are plenty of online banks that don't charge maintenance or service fees, right? So you can do your online banking virtually free. But yes, you also have to understand what their policies are on overdraft, because there's no such thing as a free lunch. So the first thing to cut out some of those fees that you shouldn't have to pay, which is a maintenance or some type of regular fee on your checking account, find an online bank. And there are plenty of good online banks that'll allow you to have an account without having to pay a maintenance fee. But be very careful, as I said earlier, there's no such thing as a free lunch. You overdraft, you're going to get socked. So we've got bank fees, credit card fees. There's also credit cards that you can buy or you can enroll. I would suggest, and I've done this for years, is using an American Express card. Yes, there's a higher annual fee, but it also forces you into doing two things. One is paying it on time, and two is making sure that, because there's no credit limit, making sure that anything you purchase on that credit card, you have the ability to already pay off. Now, maybe a cash flow issue. Maybe you need to make a purchase or do something with money, but you know the money is not coming in for a few days, so you use their money to pay, and then you pay them back. That's the way to do it, right? There's an annual fee, but of course all these cards are touting their rewards, their travel rewards and so forth, and the smart people like you are using these credit cards to rack up those points and really enjoy yourself. So kudos to you. And again, this is a video for you to share with other folks that probably don't know as much as you do. And if you're like Popsy Guy, you're the biggest challenge you have is thinking that everybody thinks the way you think. It's just not true. Third one, then I'll wrap it up, and this is the one that drives me ballistic. When my wife and I travel long distance in a car, there are sometimes, you know what, I'll save the 2,000 or 3,000 miles on my car and rent a vehicle. So the worst thing you can do is rent a vehicle in an airport. That's the worst thing. And I know you've done it. And you get the bill and you're looking at all these fees, the concession recovery fee, the hospitality management fee, all these different fees that are added onto the base rate the sales tax is higher. There's probably even 2 levels of sales tax because the airport may be under a different sales tax schedule than an off-site rental agency may be. So there's where you really will pay for convenience, because it's just so easy to get off the plane, go down to the baggage, get in line, get your keys, get in the car, and away you go. And then all of a sudden you go to return the car, or you do something silly and you actually look at what the email receipt is, and you start calculating all these fees. You're like, oh! So my recommendation is, if you can find an off-site rental car agency, you're going to save money that way. So that's an easy way to save some money. Get the same kind of car. You'll probably get a shuttle back and forth. It's not that hard. In most major cities, even smaller cities like the one we're in, will have off-site major car rental companies where you can save a bundle of money because you're not actually doing business at the airport. I think that's a bonus tip. And then, keeping in the vein of rental cars, something I think you should know, and I know you know, again, I know you know these things, but please pass this on to those who don't. If you don't purchase the CDW, which is the collision damage waiver, don't assume that your insurance, that the insurance that you have in your car is going to pick it up. Most likely it'll take some of the weight of the damages off, but little known fees that people who end up, either their fault or somebody else's fault, totaling a rental car, it's not just the replacement of the rental car. And most collision damage waivers will cover this if you buy it from the company. But most insurance contracts that you have through your insurance provider, as long as you have the collision, comprehensive and collision coverage, it will help replace, after the deductible, the car. But it's not going to pay for, now check this out, the loss of use. The insurance company will not pay the rental company for the number of days that that car that you were driving is either being fixed or out of service. And the rental cars have revenue attached to them, so if it's out of service, they're losing money. Your insurance is probably not going to pay for that. But the CDW that you buy at the counter, or whoever you rent your car from, will pay for that. Storage, right? If the car has to be stored and towed, those are 2 other expenses that your insurance contract is not going to be picked up. And let's not kid each other. If an insurance company knows that you totaled the car and you don't have the insurance, they're going to be like, well, it's going to be in storage for a while, you know, with the inventory and, you know, everything's going wrong worldwide. We can't get the parts. It's going to have to sit in storage for a while. Ka-ching, ka-ching. Loss of use, storage, all of these fees continue to pile up. And guess who is on the hook for those? That would be you. So that's just, again, something that if you travel and you're renting a car, please pay attention to that. If you can get it off-site, you're going to save a tremendous amount of money in the taxes and the fees that are basically part of an airport rental. But more importantly, pay attention to, if something happens and your car is totaled, whether it's your fault or it's not your fault, the rental car company could turn around, and whatever card you use, because you need to use some type of credit or debit card, they will end up billing it right then and there for what they're owed. And then guess who is responsible for filing a claim and getting that money back? And what if it exceeds your credit limit? I mean, it can turn into an absolute nightmare. So I'm not an advocate of buying the CDW. I'm just an advocate of understanding what your current insurance policy covers and what it doesn't. And I know you're saying, well, but wait a minute, Dave, I've got one of the best American Express cards on the planet, and they've told me they're going to cover everything. Well, you know, that's what they told you, and there's no such thing as a free lunch. So I would certainly double check what your card will pay for. It may pay for the replacement of the car, but will it pay for the loss of use, the storage, the towing, all of the other things that you don't see because the rental company has gotten that car out of the way? Double check, make sure that your credit card, whatever you're using, and assuming that you total the car, it's going to pick up everything, double check. It may only pick up some of the things, but the things that you don't even know about and it doesn't pick up are the ones that can really put a dent into you. So anyway, so the encouraging part of today is you are absolutely in control of every single one of the things I just talked about, right? You can go to a merchant and find out if they're giving a discount for cash. You know, obviously I live in a military town. If you're a military veteran or an active duty veteran, Ask for the discount. You will get the discount. It's even better than cash. But make sure that you're not overextending yourself and paying convenience fees just because it's convenient. It won't be convenient when you see the balance on your checking account go down because you thought differently. Second is with the banks, you have the right to find out what will the bank charge if you're late. How can you avoid actually paying a maintenance fee? There's so many banking options online right now. You don't even have to step into a bank branch anymore, which leads me to the question, why are they still around? And thirdly, and we talked about this real quick, is rental cars. You are in absolute control of the rental car situation. You'll know exactly how much you're paying, whether or not you want to add certain options. I would personally, if you don't have a GPS on your phone, you don't need their GPS. Or if you do, you don't need theirs. You probably, if you live in a state that has tolls, you may not have to even buy the toll transponder from them or rent that from them. Car seats, a lot of people travel and they don't need to rent a car seat from the rental car company, but these are all ways that the company makes money. Rent off-site if you can do it. So encouraging because you are in complete control. Do me a big favor, give me some comments. Let me know what you think of this. Certainly share the video, like it, subscribe if you haven't done already. You folks have been amazing. I continually get comments from a video I did, and I'll link that at the end of this video, on would I pay $50,000? Why would I pay $50,000 for this car? And these comments are gold. I absolutely love them. Some of you are absolutely hilarious. Others of you, you make a very, very good point why I'm a complete knucklehead and I don't know what I'm talking about, which I love. I'm not going to argue with you. I am a knucklehead, but I'm your knucklehead. I'm Popsy Guy. So thank you for viewing and stay tuned. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.